Morning, everybody. Welcome to Phoenix. At least it's not triple digits. So it was a couple of weeks ago. I think you'll be good. It'll be nice tonight. It's only going to be about 95 today. So those of you who are from the East Coast, maybe that's not what you want. But when I was looking at the agenda, I was like, I've got to seriously be on the stage before Paul. You know, anybody who's heard Paul speak, you know, great passion about what he's done over the years. So I will try my very best to warm you up for him and everybody else. I recognize quite a lot of people in the audience. There's also a few people I don't know. So hopefully over the next day or so, I'll be able to connect and meet up with the people I don't know. So Sprouts Farmers Market. Who lives in an area where there's a Sprouts? Oh, that's pretty good. Actually, that's more than normal. If I'd asked that question 3 years ago, it would have been even fewer people, because one of the things that we're doing is growing massively. Sprouts, we try to give that feeling of a farmer's market, hence why we still call ourselves Sprouts Farmers Market. For those of you who are not that familiar, it's quite a unique experience when you walk into one of our stores. You can see, you stand at the front, you can see all the way to the back. You've got all the produce on the back, or produce, I suppose I meant to say, but the produce on the back wall, and then some tables of produce. Then we have the bulk section where you can scoop and find all your different sort of grains and candy and nuts and seeds, all that sort of stuff, about 200 of those. And then either side we have grocery, frozen dairy on one side, and then meat, deli, and bakery on the other side. So that's generally how our stores are laid out. But one of the things that I think really differentiates us, not just how our stores look, is our people. We have passionate people. And we would not be anything without our 32,000 team members. And the reason I talk about that is because our purpose at Sprouts is, it sounds a bit cheesy, but if you speak to any of our team members, you'll get this from them. We want to help people live and eat better. That's what we're trying to do, help people live and eat better. And so throughout what I'm going to talk about, this is what Sprouts are doing. We want to continue doing that. We're not trying to tell people and preach to people, you must do this, because we know they don't react that well. So it's all about how do we help people. And those people don't have to be just our customers. They can be our communities that we service. They could be the broader panel, the broader sort of environment and planet. It could be our team members. So those people, we help people live and eat better, could be anybody in that whole supply chain. Okay, quick thing about Sprouts. We are building stores all the time. We built 30 last year, about 35 we'll think this year. It's about 10% increase. With that comes enormous responsibility. We need to make sure that when we're building our stores, we're doing it in the right way. We need to make sure that we're putting them in communities that need them. How are we helping our different communities? If you go into our stores again, we have that blend of Sprouts brand, which is obviously what I look after. When I started, I've been at Sprouts for 3 years now, just over 3 years. We're about 16% sales penetration for Sprouts brand. We're now 23. And that is really important to us as a business because I think Christopher mentioned it. When you have the private brands, that allows us to really impact even more so than the brands. However, I would say that the brands that we have, we don't see ourselves as a one-stop shop. We know that people come to us as a secondary shop. You can do your whole shop there. But if you have a penchant for Coca-Cola, we don't sell it. So you have to go somewhere else for that. We don't sell like Tide or Colgate, but we do sell toothpaste and laundry detergent and colas, but we don't sell those big brands because they don't always meet what our customers are looking for. So we have that innovative, differentiated products. We talk about lifestyle-friendly ingredients because it's not about telling people what they should eat or how they should eat. It's giving them those choices that they can then decide. And I always say it's the smile. That's where our stores are in the US. Think of it as a smile. East Coast to West Coast, 23 states, much more than a lot of people think. I talked about new stores. What I think is really important, $6.8 billion of sales. So Christopher just mentioned Lowe's. Well, we're obviously smaller than that. However, $6.8 billion, of that, nearly half, so $3.3 billion last year, was products that had a social or an environmental attribute. And that's what differentiates us. And that's what, if you're a supplier partner in the room, you already know that. But if you want to be a supplier partner of ours, that's really important. If you're offering a service or you're part of one of the organizations, you know very well that if you're a certifying organization, you know that's what we try and do. We are by no means perfect. We've got lots to do, but we're trying our best and we're trying to improve every year. And through those, 27% of our total sales is organic and increasing. We'll talk about produce, actually. It's more than 40% of our produce is organic and growing. I think it's more than that now, but 40% of produce is organic and at really great value. You know, you think about organic, it's really expensive. The difference in our stores between conventional and organic produce, it's really important to make sure that it's easy for our customers to buy that. So we really focus on that. And when I talk about Sprouts brand, organics plays even more importance. And this is, you know, just differentiated better for you products. Better for you, by the way, doesn't mean it's all healthy. Well, it's healthy. It's healthier, I should say. But we still sell ice cream. We still sell candy. But it's better for you candy, better for you ice cream. We're not trying to be a total health store. You don't want to, it's a very boring life if you don't ever have that opportunity, I think anyway. Like a little treat every now, just a little treat is great. So, but we're about to launch, actually, one of our products I'm very excited about is called a gelato bomb, sourcing it from Italy. That is not, if you just ate gelato bombs all day, it's not healthy. But a little treat, it's an amazing product, but it's sourced from Italy. It's the really clean ingredients. It's a great tasting. I am with you, Christopher, on the tasting of products. Every single product we put through under the Sprouts brand and our brands has to go through a taste panel of not just one person, because I can't stand coffee, and so we wouldn't have very much coffee, but coffee is very important. But it goes through that, so we make sure it's all really great. And as you can see, we've got lots of different attributes. This is one of my favorite, it's very sad that that's my favorite slide, but this is one of my favorite slides. This is what Sprouts is about. This is what our customers love. This is what our team members really love. Our team members are huge advocates for our products and what we do. And if you look, so project, it's not quite how the store's laid out, but it's a good representation. But the attributes, that's not a conventional retailer footprint. You know, 40% of produce, more than 40% of produce is organic. In grocery, we've got gluten-free, we have organic, 35% of grocery is organic. We've got plant-based in dairy, plant-based in grocery. So lots of different things. And the reason we talk about organic, as we know, and plant-based is the impact that has, the production methods, the impact it has on the environment, how we put together that. That's really important. We keep trying to drive that. And also, we do have conventional farmed products, but we work very closely with our suppliers of those to make sure they're done in the right way. So why am I putting our values up? Our values are central to who we are. These were created not by some fancy sort of consultant coming in and saying, oh, Sprouts, you need to do this. This came from our team members. We did a huge, I guess, questionnaires and lots of interviews to try and work out what our values should be. We only have 3, so much easier to remember. I've worked for organizations that have 6, have 10, have 7 and 11. Guess who I work for there? And but 3 is easy. Our team members can do that. And the reason I'm putting this here, because we're at Sustainability Summit, we're talking about sustainability. Care is one of ours. And care is all about how we care for each other, how we care for our team members, our customers, the communities we operate in, but also for our planet. And so that's how our team members think about sustainability. It's about care. That's why we want to help people live and eat better. So I'll talk about, own it. I think a lot of people have that as one of their values. Do what you say you're going to do. And then love being different means that we have that quirkiness. I think quite a few people would say we're a little bit quirky, a little bit different. And our product selection does that as well. And our approach. This is a very boring slide, but it's important because if you look at when the finance team and Jack talk to the street or any investors, they have these 5 things at the top here. And then they have loads of figures and numbers and things. But you can translate that into our approach to sustainability. So if you want to know what Sprouts are doing, and link it to sustainability, we actually talk about the impact. So we don't necessarily talk about sustainability all the time, but it's about our impact, both positive and negative. How do we reduce those negative impacts of running a grocery store? How do we improve the positive and build more positive impacts? I'm just going to pick a couple of things on here. We have 80% of our stores within 250 miles of a distribution center. That's really important. And a lot of people ask, why are you not in the Midwest? Why are you not in the Northeast? Because we don't have the distribution center network, and we don't want to do that until we have that. And that's important. So our products don't travel as far. We have, what would I say? Though the 3 million students that are participating in school garden education programs is awesome. If you ever get a chance to get involved in our foundation work, the Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation, it's just wonderful. And we've helped over the years, since 2015, 3 million students learn more about how to eat nutritiously, learn where their food comes from, and also learn how to utilize those different foods. They don't have to be a Sprouts customer. Hopefully they will be, but they don't have to be. It's about how do we help and encourage the youth of tomorrow or today who are going to be making these decisions later on. So when we think about our impact or sustainability, these are the 5 areas that we look at: impactful products, thriving planet, purposeful people, healthy communities, and responsible business. I think everybody probably, the responsible business, I won't spend very much time on that, that's at the end, but that's about how you go to do business. But impactful products, we haven't got that long list of, we will do this by this date and that by that date. Yes, we have some, but we want to tell the stories, and every product has a different story. Every producer has a unique story. I want to hear what those stories are. We want to see what they are, because they're not the same for every ingredient. They're not the same for every product. How do you bring that to life in our stores, on the back of pack, through highlighting the different aspects and attributes on our products? So from a Sprouts brand perspective, that's mentioned on here, but if we are looking at all of our impactful products focus areas, and I think you'll hear today so many different people you're hearing speak about will speak to one or more of these things. I have to make sure that my team and I are considering every aspect of this. Health and wellness. I said that over just nearly half of our products had a social environmental attribute. Slightly less than that, so $2.3 billion of that $6.8 billion has a health or nutrition attribute. So of that social environmental impact, some of those are health or nutrition, and that's increasing. That's really important. We're trying to help our customers live and eat better. We don't want to tell them you must have this or you must do that. And innovation is the way that we learn. So we have, has anybody seen, we have innovation centers in our stores. They're about a 12-foot gondola, usually between produce and grocery. And on those, last year, I think we had something like 700, nearly 800 different products on there. Those innovative, new and emerging brands, plus some Sprouts brand products, help us understand what our customers are looking for, help us test and learn. At the moment, we have regenerative agriculture focused items on the Innovation Center. They sit on that Innovation Center for 3 months, but every month we rotate out. So you'll see different things. And then you can graduate. So if our customers say, yeah, and you can tell by the sales, if they really buy into those, then those graduate onto our everyday shelves. So it's about a 25% rate at the moment, which if you compare that to similar ways of doing things in other organizations, usually the average industry is about 11%. And of those, that's how we learn. That's how we look at, from a private brand perspective, we can go, okay, that is not just a fad, that's a trend. Let's work out how do we incorporate that and build that into our products. How do we make those things that the customers are resonating with, these new and emerging small brands that couldn't get that platform across the country. When you go in the Innovation Center, you're in all of our stores. We're in the mid 420s at the moment for store count. So you get that opportunity to go to them. We help them with navigating the very complex way of bringing a product to market in a supermarket. So talking about responsible sourcing, everybody has these different things here. Regenerative, we're seeing a lot of that. We'll definitely going to be focusing much more on where that makes sense in the different products, where it makes sense in commodities, and really building that, because our customers are telling us they like that. That's a really important part of their decision making. Local farms, I think we are increasing our element of local farms, mainly around produce, but those are, we have a regional produce buying team, and they are out there searching for produce. It's one of the reasons, actually, from a Sprouts brand perspective, we don't have as much private brand products in our produce area, because we're focusing on local. And that's one area I don't mind that. Let's bring in those local farmers, those local ingredients, those local items. And our customers really like that. But so do our team members as well. They love telling the story about the farmer who came in and talked about their corn, or the person who's talking about their tomatoes. It's a really great way to bring to life that farmer's market feel. Would anybody have a guess at how much beef, of our beef, what percentage would be organic and grass-fed? Anybody like to have a guess? I'm just trying to check if you're awake, really. 20%? Higher or lower? Higher. 30%? Higher or lower? 40%? You're not allowed to answer. 40%? It is. It's 57. Last year, 59% of our beef was organic or grass-fed. It'll be higher. Our customers want that. Patrizia, who's sitting over here, is on my team. She's in the dairy team. If you want to learn anything about dairy, go talk to her. She's far more knowledgeable than I am. But in dairy, obviously, very intensive way of farming often. But grass-fed is so important to our customers in that area. Grass-fed milk builds on that same sort of approach that our customers buying beef do as well. Also, pasture-raised eggs. That is a huge growth area. Organic pasture-raised and conventional pasture-raised eggs. Really important to our customers, and they tell us by voting with how much they are buying from us that that's really important to them. But those farming aspects, it really resonates with our customers, and we've got to do more. We need to understand more. Something like, I think, 67% of our pork is open pen or gestation crate free, but that means we've got more to do. So in all of these, why is it not 100%? We need to, should it be 100%? Is that right? Sometimes 100% may not be the right approach. So we keep doing all of these things, 100% responsible seafood. Yes, that is 100%. And then, but it might not be in all of those areas. I don't know if everybody puts food quality and safety in the bucket of sustainability, but I think the impact, if you get it wrong, has a, detrimental impact on people buying into some of the new technologies, some of the new ideas, and the new items we put out there. So food safety is critical for us. We've got to get that right. That's like baseline, and everybody would say that, I know. But we put that very firmly within our impact approach to minimizing negative impacts. So Sprouts brand, that's part of impactful products. $1.3 billion of sales last year. Obviously, we hope that will be more this year. Don't talk to me about any numbers. It's our third quarter results next week, so I'm not allowed to say anything. I'll get into a lot of trouble if I said things. But you see there, we've got organic penetration, 30%, and increasing. As a total store, it was 27%. So Sprouts brand, we focus on organic, definitely bringing more and more organic products under our brand. And in many cases, like in frozen vegetables, it's 100% organic. We don't have any conventional frozen vegetables. That was a decision we made a few years ago. We tested it. We're always going to test things like that. And our customers said, yeah, we will have organic vegetables. So we go with organic vegetables in frozen. Can't be done in every area. but that's a really important way of thinking how we source our products. And wherever possible, the team will look for organic first. Now, we've also got to make sure we maintain value. We have great value, I think, for our customers buying products. And so sometimes organic is not the way. But there might be another aspect. So plant-based products, that's continuing to improve. Even though, you know, you look at the general trend and you can see that steep curve or that steep line is flattening out a little bit. But for us, we saw, I think it was a 22% increase in plant-based items last year. So products. So our customers are still telling us that as part of their everyday diet, they want to incorporate plant-based. And we know that has a lower impact in terms of how you utilize the land and how you are distributing those products. I'm not going to talk about what our standards and our set things are from a plastic. Name is to save. Thriving Planet, part of that has to be around packaging. We have also Justin is in the room, I think he's over there, who's our sustainability manager. I think you hear from him tomorrow. Justin is my go-to for anything around facts and figures for sustainability. He knows it all. Well, you will, yes, no, you do. You know it all, Justin. So he's who we go to. He's been working in this area for a long time, and he's really great, helps us think about, are we doing the right thing, and challenges us, like, should we continue to do this? You know, we put how to recycle on the back of our packs. Does every customer look at it? No, I don't think they do. But a lot of our customers do. And then they tell us, but this is not recyclable. No, but we want to be transparent that it's not, and we will get better and we will improve. So that's some of the ways that we think about doing things from a Sprouts perspective. Landfill diversion, I think we're at 70% at the moment, and we are, that's the waste or the shrink in store. We want to get to zero waste. We look at that as, I think it's more than 90%, and it's from the true zero waste measurement. So, you know, there are some targets we put in place, and we really shout about those. But in other areas, it's about tell us your story. How do we put together and how do we talk about the different stories of the different products that are out there? I've got lots of facts. You can read all the different facts if you wish. Those 3 facts down there about the 1,200 SKUs with how to recycle, it's much higher than that now. Those relate to Sprouts brand, so anything in our private brand. We're very proud to have got out of our expanded polystyrene trays in the meat area. So 8.2 million trays we got rid of. That's all in place now, and it's PET. Does that mean we can move to the next stage? Yes, absolutely, because PET may not be the final answer. But we have to do this step by step, and it's a little bit at a little bit, and we learn stuff every time. We have to make sure the product's still safe, that it's still protected, that it doesn't incur more waste. Those are all the, you know, everybody knows you've got to juggle all of those different things. Just looking at my time. Okay. So Thriving Planet, that's all about, you know, what are we doing mainly around packaging, but also around the carbon emissions. If you think about when we build stores, I talked about we built 30 last year, we're building about 35 this year, 10% increase, at least for the next few years. I think we've got about at least 100 sites already locked and loaded, and we know what we're going to do with those over the next few years. So we've got to build those thinking about how we impact the environment. 23,000 square feet, it's a much smaller store than we used to build. It means we can be more efficient, we can be more effective in how we're utilizing energy and any of those emissions. So all of that stuff, maybe not necessarily to do with Sprouts brand, but the more we expand our stores and we get our products in more people's hands, the more that our private brand is going to be seen and heard by our customers. And they're very good at telling us what they think. So, and as part of that, purposeful people. We wouldn't be anything without our team members. Our team members are awesome. 32,000 of them in store, mostly in stores. And part of how do we help people live and eat better? This is part of how we do that. Look after our team members, and then they'll look after our customers and our communities and so on. I talked about love being different. Well, maybe I didn't. It's one of our key values. We encourage our teams to think differently, to love being different, to challenge the norm, to tell us what other things could we do. We have an annual survey, just, you know, of all sorts of things in the business. I think there was about 320 different ideas that came out last year that were implemented from our team members relating to improving and having less of an impact on our environment, on our communities, or in stores. We wouldn't have known that if we hadn't asked the team members. So it's really important to ask them all of those. So this is, hopefully you get an idea of how we are trying to do different things within Sprouts. From a Sprouts private brand perspective, we weave all of these things into how we source, how we look at our partners, how we can keep continuing to improve. I don't want to just launch and leave an item. We've got to keep thinking about how we improve those. Is there a better farming methodology? Maybe we could look at, when we're looking at finding more grass-fed milk, because there's a limit to what's out there. But when we're looking at finding more grass-fed milk, who are the partners that are out there? Who else could we work with? What is their story? Are they working towards this? How can we work with their farmers? What stories can we tell? And the more local we can get, the easier that becomes as well. Okay, healthy communities. If you're going to help people live and work better, live and eat better, then you need to have healthy communities. We started this in 2015, I think. We've given over $20 million of grants to local communities, either to build like a school garden, or to help education, or to bring food into more of the food desert areas, or help people understand how to use food, how to cook. Our chef, Matt, he gets out and about quite often, and he goes and helps people learn how to use food, cook vegetables. I mean, very basic things, but it's really amazing the work that they're doing. And it's about how do you grow. I don't know if you can grow healthy kids, but it's a little bit like, I have an image of planting them, but no, that's not what we do. It's like when we talk about the work that we're doing on chicken welfare and trying to improve and continuously improving, we've got a roadmap. I have this image of chickens reading a map, but that's just me. But 37, so food security, it's a critical issue in this country and many other countries. So we've got to make sure that any food that we are not selling, how do we get that in the hands of people who need it instead of putting it into the bin? 37 million pounds of food were donated last year, 29 million meals. But we continue to work out, well, how do we do this better? Justin and team, they go and look at the stores, make sure that they are following the different processes and procedures, because every day running a store can get in the way of doing some of these things, and it's important for us to work out systems and processes to help our store team members do the right thing, because it's really difficult when you've got a customer in the store and you've got got to get all the shelves filled, and maybe you forget to put something in the right bin or in the right place, and we've got to keep doing that and helping people do that. So from a Sprouts brand perspective, trying to design those products so that it helps our store team members utilize the products in the best way. How do you get more products on the shelf? Because if you can get a whole case on the shelf, it's very basic retailing, but can you get a whole case on the shelf? Because if you can, there's less stuff left out the back. There's less likelihood that it's going to get lost. We have very small back of house spaces. And it's just, those are all the tiny things that we're doing from a Sprouts brand perspective, that we can have an impact that might not be seen in every day. But if we can reduce that shrink, that waste in store and get those products on the shelf. So I know it's frustrating for a manufacturer to reduce the case count. But if we can get a case count that sits on the shelf, you can put the whole case on the shelf, it's actually very beneficial in the long run. We do see selling more things. Am I doing all right on time? Okay. And then finally, I talked about responsible business. Every one of our board members has a responsibility. They're responsible for one ESG target or process. Kristen Blum, who is one of our independent board directors, she is the chairperson of our foundation. So make sure that that runs in the right way. And then you might think that these don't have an impact from a sustainability perspective. But again, this is fundamental business process. And if we don't get this right, it means we can't operate anything else. How are people going to trust us that what we say we do from an environmental perspective, from a sustainability perspective, if we can't run our business properly? So those are the type of things. So this is how we look at sustainability at Sprouts. We know we're not perfect. We've got lots to do, but I think we make improvements every year. And we're really proud of those small improvements. So every year, if we keep doing that, we keep selling more organic products. Has less of an impact from a farming perspective. If we keep looking at what packaging we're using, are we utilizing the right type of packaging? Are we testing and learning? That'll help us. Keep putting those innovative, differentiated products on the shelf. That helps us learn, that helps us see what customers are looking for, and also discovers new things. From a private brand perspective, we look at those and work out, well, how do we do that? We don't just copy it, but how do we do that and put the Sprouts spin on it? How do we build a brand that really can represent our total store? We definitely believe in having the branded and the Sprouts brand alongside. We think it gives us a stronger and more rounded approach to retailing. And so we love learning on both sides from all of that. So those are the sort of summaries and different things about Sprouts. From a Sprouts brand perspective, you can see that we're starting to have more and more impact from that, just that improvement or increase in penetration of sales. But otherwise, I'm happy to take any questions either now or later, but I think I've got some time.
You do.
And thank you for listening.
And this is the event where I like to play fast and loose with the agenda and timing because I'd rather encourage conversation.
That's what you talked about, that whole networking. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. So I always like to start with one question for retailers around sustainability and private brand. What can we help you with?
Tell us the stories. That's what we want to know, the stories, because that's what our customers resonate with. And we, you know, if you look at we've just rebranded, as you know.
I do.
We've just rebranded, and we won some Vertex Awards, but we just rebranded almost all of our food. We're nearly at the end. One of the key things we wanted to do as part of that was, first of all, we had to check the quality. Nothing that didn't meet our quality could go in the new brand, because that would be detrimental. But more importantly, we want to call out those attributes. And we can only call out the attributes if we know about some of them. And there are some from our products and the way that people are farming, the way that people are working with their communities. We don't always know. And if we don't know, we can't tell our customers. And so stories. I want to hear stories.
It should be easy. That's just me tooting my own horn, right?
Yeah. Just tell us the stories from a manufacturing perspective.
Perfect. All right. This is a pretty small room, so I think we can probably do this without mics. If we need to pull a mic in, we will. But if you have questions for Jack.
Your 170 farmers that are local.
Yep.
What's your definition of local, and what are they local to? Meaning the DC or the consumer? Is local a distance? What is local mean?
I'm looking at Justin if he's got the exact answer, but it's about, obviously you're going to the DC, but actually we have a lot of our local farmers who deliver to the store, and also we utilize our like backhaul, if you like, as well to try and do that, and that has to be local. It can be, you know, if you look at Texas, it's quite a large state, so often it's local to the state. I would say that's more. So I'm looking at Justin, making sure I said the right thing. 250 miles, so it's the same as our DCs, because that's how we can then distribute. But usually it's state, because that's what our customers resonate. If they go into a Florida store and then they have something from, I'm trying to think what's next, from Georgia or something, they wouldn't see that as local, so that wouldn't make sense necessarily. So it tends to be state specific.
Whereas where I live in Charlotte, their store sits right on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina almost, so.
Yes.
250, we would still take it.
Yeah, it's about 250. It's the best way to do it. You know, otherwise, if you're in the UK, and Europe, there's a legal requirement. I think it's 30 miles or something, but that wouldn't work in the US. So it's a slightly bigger country.
You mentioned food waste and donations. How do you manage that on a national scale, and what are some partners that you've worked with or had successes with?
We work with a lot of food banks. So yes, there are some food banks who have national approach, but we try and do it local. much more locally. They need to go through a process to make sure that everybody's handling the food in the right way and that we're, not causing any issues that way. But often our stores have great contacts with local organizations, and we'd much rather it goes to a local organization. So usually food banks, sometimes it's other organizations, but usually it's local food banks who we've built a partnership with over the years and have gone through our checks and balances to ensure that we're still protecting the food, our brand, and how that gets to the final consumer.
Do they pick up or do you deliver?
A bit of both, isn't it, usually?
They pick up.
They pick up generally.
Yeah, they'll stop at Sprouts, Whole Foods, Kroger, just kind of part of their route to receive anything that we have available.
And we don't want to, it's better to have that than, transporting food backwards and forwards and all around. So trying to minimize the distance as well, often because this, the shelf life is going to be limited on some of those products as well.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I don't know all the answers, so I'm like, Justin, thank goodness he's
Back?
Hey, Jack, Brett Kramer with Food Bench. When it comes to regenerative, do Sprouts have a stance on requirements for it to be certified to carry a claim, or can there be sort of validation through QA?
I think it's a little bit too early in that, in the whole, what does regenerative stand for? There's a couple of standards that are out there, so we do look at those, and generally that's more what we utilize. If the product can tell a story and they can back that up, then we will put that in that regenerative as well. But it's got to be that whole. We will look at. From a Sprouts brand perspective, we don't have that extensively because we will go into a lot more detail on that and how we will look at what the standards are. And we would prefer to have one of the standards that's out there already. There's a couple that we would use. For the brands, we can't go into all the detail to check every single claim from a brand because that is their responsibility. So you'll see, if you go to the Innovation Center, you'll see ROC, a lot of that, but you'll also see some brands who put their own story as to how and why this is regenerative. I know that's not really an answer, but that's where we are at the moment. I think what we want to do is support people, brands, and the farmers who are taking these steps to farm in a better way. And that's the way we're doing that at the moment. I think it's too early to say it's this standard or that standard at the moment.
And we've seen lots of retailers take that stand of we're going to lean on outside certification bodies. And a few make up their own that we frown on because we're like, oh, Tender verified. Yep, that's Tender. So,
Yeah.
We
We
do you know
don't,
that retailer?
I don't think we're the experts yet, or probably ever will be, but I think there's a lot of people out there, and so we want to build our knowledge. I talked about we're always improving, keep building our knowledge, and that's the way that we sort of take the stance on
And I
this.
think we've got one more question. Did you have a question over here?
There's another one over there.
So back one question, just to add on to that, for the food that's not donatable, I guess it pertains to just produce, are you guys still donating that for animal?
Yes. So we do that still is another route for products to go as well. Yeah, absolutely. There was one other question.
All right,
there.
one more question. Trevor back there.
Morning, Jack. Another great new room.
Morning.
Just curious about Sprouts and from a packaging perspective, your commitment to specific targets. I see lots of companies that shy away from making targets around recyclability or recycled content. What's the Sprouts position?
So there are certain ingredients that we won't use in our types of packaging that we won't use in a Sprouts brand perspective. We are asking our supplier partners that when they present a product to us, that wherever possible, they can reduce the amount of product, the amount of packaging, whatever that packaging might be, but clearly focusing on that single-use plastic. We don't have specific targets in every area of packaging. If you think about 30% recycled content that is something that we're working towards, and we'll always be challenging our suppliers. I think the legislation, we operate in 23 states. You've got Washington in there, New Jersey, Colorado, California, all of whom have different and are going to be coming up with different standards. So I think it's you don't want to put something in stone if those standards are going to change, and we have to look at it in a different way. The most important thing is to reduce that and make our packaging more sustainable or recyclable wherever it can be. I think we're doing a lot in our stores, especially for plastics, about how we recycle, for the flexible plastics, which are difficult from a curbside perspective to recycle, offering that opportunity for customers to do that. And also using that how to recycle, that helps them understand what they can do. But in terms of standards, we like I said, we've got 30%.
It's okay, Jack.
You know, it varies.
So I can tell you, and I'm sure we'll see it as a theme across the next 2 days. There were a number of retailers, a couple sitting in this room, that made huge promises a couple of years ago that have now figured out that although those were well-meaning, they're very difficult to achieve, and in some cases the materials didn't even exist in the world to achieve them. So they're having to rethink, and fortunately they're all being very honest and saying, hey, turns out that wasn't what we can do. So honestly, at this point, we don't even encourage people to make those big claims and just to talk about processes and goals and
But it's also about that constant improvement. How do we do continuous improvement and push ourselves and, you know, and make sure that we hold ourselves accountable to keep improving.
a lot of what this is about being better, not about being perfect. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much, Jack.
Thanks. You can have that back.
Yeah.